Welcome to the Lifestyle Builders Podcast, show 39. In our last episode, we spoke with guest Armando Cruz about creating a purposeful and powerful legacy. Today, we're chatting on scheduling your day to fit it all in. Welcome to the Lifestyle Builders Podcast, where we bring you real-life strategies on starting and growing a business and finding financial freedom without sacrificing the life you have with your loved ones. We are your hosts, Tom and Ariana Sylvester, and we are married, we're parents, and we're serial entrepreneurs. This podcast is for those who want more out of life. We'll show you how to take the vision you have and create the business that will help you achieve it. Join us as we share practical steps, real-life stories, and help you become a lifestyle builder. All right, we are back. I'm so excited. And I want to bring up a funny deal that we have made between the two of us that I don't know if everyone knows about it, but they're going to now.
Say, I always get worried when you say things like this.
So in college, Tom and I were huge movie buffs. We watched, I can't even tell you how many hours worth
huge
of
nerds.
movies.
Everyone else was out like partying.
Totally
homebodies,
home
in the dome room,
watching
dorm room.
Oh my God, we used to watch we used to binge watch movies before
binging
people
was a
binge TV shows. Yeah. And so one thing that we never figured out until we actually got married and moved into the house and all of that stuff was that I have never seen the movie The Godfather, which apparently to many people is a big deal. And Tom has never seen the all-time favorite classic, The Sound of Music.
No, and so our deal, so when we figured this out, basically said, okay, well, I could care less about Sound of Music. You could care less about Godfather. But from a cultural perspective,
yes,
from a maintaining a healthy relationship perspective, we should probably at least see these movies. So the agreement, which we have yet to fulfill,
correct,
is
and we will be married 10 years this year.
You'll watch Godfather, and I'll watch Sound of Music.
Yep.
But part of, you said we've been married 10 years, been together 16 years.
Yep.
Part of why I think we haven't been able to do that is because those movies are both 3 hours long.
Yeah, they're ridiculously long.
And every time, there's been a couple times I know where we sat down and tried to do it, and we're like, oh, we only have 2 hours. So I think how we're finally going to make it happen is we literally have to schedule
We're going to have to.
We'll have to schedule, here's the Sound of Music block. We're going to sit down.
Well, the other thing is we've fallen off. I don't think we can any longer call ourselves movie buffs because we are so behind on movies right now that we're trying to catch up with all the movies, I say new movies with quotes because they're probably from last year that we're still catching up on.
So I would say we're movie connoisseurs.
Oh, okay.
So we don't just watch any movie. We watch the best movies. So it's not about quantity. It's about quality.
Sure. Go with that one.
All right. With that, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about scheduling your day to fit it all in. And this topic was actually requested by one of the members of our Family Entrepreneur Life Facebook community, Kimberly Sharon. And hopefully I said her last name right. I've never asked her how to say it. And it's something that we hear a lot from a lot of people. I have so many things and what do you do to schedule each day to make sure you're fitting it all in?
Well, I was going to say the number one complaint or challenge that we hear from people is I don't have enough time.
I don't have enough time.
Literally when we had our Facebook group, one of the questions was, what's your biggest challenge? And we had to actually switch it
in parentheses say except for time.
Yeah, because that's what everybody was talking about.
Yep, that was the number one answer.
And it's understandable because there's more going on today than ever, between jobs and family relationship stuff. Your business if you're starting it on the side or if you transition full times.
And now kids nowadays are starting to do a lot more, so I know so many parents that get into that phase of I'm a chauffeur to my children because they just have all these activities that I have to drive them everywhere to and then pick them up and then we have to get homework done somewhere in there, and it's just all of these things are happening all the time. And so how do you fit in business time, quality family time? How do you make sure that you're getting all of that stuff in every day, every week?
Yeah, well, the first thing, I joked about being movie connoisseurs and the quality over quantity, that's one of the big shifts that a lot of people have got to do is it's got to be don't try to get everything done, because it doesn't matter how much you get done.
It's impossible.
There's going to be more stuff.
Yep.
So the thing is to really focus on what's important. And that really comes back to understanding big picture. What are your goals? What's important to you in your life? And one of the ways that I like to do this is think about all the different hats or roles that you wear, right? So like, what's important for me to get done as a husband? What's important for me to get done as a father? What's important for me to get done as a son? What's important for me to get done as the leader of our business? So by looking at it that way, you then shift from saying, I've got to get everything done, or I'm failing because I'm not. And you say, what are the most important things that I can then prioritize?
Yeah. And I think, funny random example, I am a planner. I am the planner. But back when we didn't have all 3 businesses and we only had 1 kid and I was working from home, but I really didn't work as much because we only had the 2 offline businesses, which I was basically just managing. Yep. I used to be a Pinterest mom, finding all the things and crafting away and like creating the coolest birthday parties because I had the extra time to put into, like, I'm going to make everything match and I'm going to make all these cute things to decorate and plan this amazing, cool birthday party. And now, as we record this, our son probably just had his 3rd birthday party, in which I have done relatively no planning whatsoever, and it's in our backyard, and we're just going more for the experience rather than all the extra stuff. Because what it came down to is she didn't even care. She didn't remember most of those birthday parties. She was too young, and no one that came to the birthday parties really cared like that it looked perfect or had everything matching. They were there because it was her birthday and it was a good time. So I've let go of a lot of the planner in me when it came to things that became insignificant and only worried about the really, really important stuff that is a priority.
Yeah, and I mean that's the number one thing for anyone that wants to do this, because I don't care how many productivity strategies or hacks or automation or whatever you do, if you don't shift away from trying to get everything done and focusing on just getting the most important things done, you're never going to be able to get out of this cycle.
Yep.
So as you're planning things out, number one thing is just saying, what's important to me? Prioritize, like you like to do a brain dump, right?
Yes.
Get everything out of your head. And then we go through and we say, what's the most important things out of this? What things can we just get rid of? And what things should we maybe delegate to somebody else or automate?
Yep.
But by doing that, it just makes sure that you are focused on the right things and you're going through them in the right order.
Well, and let's talk about the big picture here, because a lot of times when you're in it, when you're day to day, when you're week to week, it is tough to like figure out like, oh, well, what is the priority? Because I feel like everything's a priority right now. When you stop and take a step back and look at what's the big picture goal, what is your vision, what are the things that you're trying to do in your life and in your business, if you can tie back the tasks that you're doing on a daily and a weekly basis to those larger goals, then those are the things, like, you should be picking tasks based on the priority to the big goal. So not just saying like, well, everything's a priority. Well, no, what are your big goals? What are the things that you're immediately trying to achieve? Which tasks out of your entire list are the highest priority to those?
Yep.
Everything else, as you said, can you automate it? Can you outsource it? Can you just take it off the list because it shouldn't be as important?
Yep. And part of this too is it goes back to, we always talk about the importance of meetings. Obviously, a daily meeting will help plan out your day, but a weekly meeting helps you kind of reflect back. Like, Did I work on the most important things this week? And what do I got to change for next week? Doing that quarterly and then annually then also allow us to reset those goals, reaffirm them in our mind, and then make sure that the things we're doing or the plans we put together are directly tied to that. Mm-hmm. So if you're just sitting down and trying to do all of this at once, it's overwhelming and you can't do it. And that's why, like, people initially, when we tell them about these different meetings we have, they're like, oh, well, that's crazy. But when you realize that it's a cycle and a routine that you get into, and it actually saves you a lot of time, it's you can't even replace that. And I have people that are like, well, Tom, I'm the creative side. I can't get caught into a structure or these meetings. But what you don't realize is that by doing this, you actually free up your creativity because you don't feel like you're pushing everything else off to do your creative stuff. You understand how all of that fits into your bigger picture and your priorities.
Yeah, for sure. I think it is a little overwhelming to look at those types of meetings and think like, oh, I'm a solopreneur and I have to have all these meetings all the time. But it's more like check-ins. You're setting the goals. You're saying like, here's the things I need to achieve to get to that goal. And then along the way, you're just you're stopping and checking in with yourself, making sure that the end goal is still what you want, making sure that you're moving along and progressing. And if not, then you have the chance to kind of pause and be like, oh gosh, I said I was going to do this at this point in time. I'm not there yet. Do I need to shift something in my life, in my business? Like what's going on that I haven't achieved this yet? And then you can kind of reset and continue on.
Yeah. And so with that, the first thing is really getting clear on your priorities.
Yep.
The next thing is then really focusing on those priorities and not trying to do too much at once.
Yeah. You're talking about multitasking.
Yeah.
And also overbooking, because I think a lot of us tend to do that as well. And here's where the problem lies. Life, business. People look at them separately. So they tend to say, oh, well, I have this much work to do today. I should be able to get that all done. And then life happens. And they have to take time away to deal with something, or they've got the kids home from school, or they forgot that they had loads of laundry in the washer and had to rewash them and put them in the dryer, whatever it is. So if you're looking at those two things separately, it is very, very easy to overbook yourself.
Well, and here's the reality. Most of us are terrible at estimating how long something's going to take.
Are you talking to me when you say that?
I'm talking to all of us. But yes, you. I used to write software, and it was like notorious. It was a running joke about how bad we all were at estimating. And usually, like, there's studies out there that like most of us were like 4 or 8 times like more than what we estimated. And what that usually comes down to is all we think about is like the happy case.
Yep.
Like,
best case scenario.
All I got to do is create this thing, put this on there, and it's good. And, oh, yeah, that doesn't take that long. But when you get into it, there's more to it. And then something unexpected comes up. Or you go to log into a website and it doesn't work. So now you got to go and reset your password. And, well, that's 15 minutes gone there. And there's all these other things that come with it. So a lot of what I've shifted away from over the years when I'm working with people is less about getting really specific on the amount of time, having a range, but then just more focusing on that prioritized list.
Yep.
Because here's the thing. It doesn't necessarily matter if you get 8 things done or 10 things done. What matters is that you got the most important things done for the time you had. So we don't want to like beat ourselves up to say, Ariana, you said that was going to take 4 hours and it took 6. So like now you're in trouble. It's like, no, you thought it was going to take 4. The reality was it took 6, but that was more important than the thing that was 4 down the list that we didn't do.
Yeah.
And if we're doing those weekly meetings, then we step in and say, okay, is there a lesson we can learn here? Do we know why it took 6? Can we change something so it can take 4? Or do we just know going forward that it's more likely going to take 6 next time?
Well, and you bring up a good point, because whatever it is that's internally ingrained in us, when we put a to-do list together and then we don't get to check all the things off the list, it's like this add-on, this buildup of, in the back of your mind, you go day to day to day and you're never fully checking off your list, because the next day you already had things on the list that you were supposed to do, but then you didn't finish things from the day before, and you're moving those over and carrying them along. And now today's list is incredibly long. So now you're not going to get everything done. Then you've got the guilt, you've got the thought, like, just overwhelming, oh man, I've got so much stuff. How am I ever going to get this all done? And I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves when we have that happen, as opposed to, we've kind of gotten to the point where we have certain days where we have certain things that we do. And then we have our priority tasks, and we let things fall as they may throughout the week. So we take, okay, we've got Monday, we got a pretty open day. I know I can get a good chunk of things done. Let me take the highest priority tasks off my list, and I'm going to work on those. And then we kind of go day to day and make sure that every time we're pulling a task off the list, it's a priority task, or it's an other task that we've deemed somewhat important and we need to get it done by a certain time. So instead of saying, I'm going to do this, and this day, and I'm going to do this, and this day, and like planning out the entire week, we take that meeting, that time where we sync up and say, here's the goals, here's what we think we need to do to reach them. And we list out, here's all the priority tasks. Now, the other piece that we're lucky to have together is we keep each other accountable. When someone's added too many priority tasks to the list, the other person calls them out and says, hey, do you really think that you can get all of that done? I'm asking because I want to make sure that you're not setting yourself up for failure and, making more stress and making it harder on yourself to get a couple priority tasks done as opposed to trying to work on all 5 and only getting 3 out of 5. So I think that's one of the changes in the shifts that we made that's really helped kind of get rid of the guilt, get rid of this overwhelming feeling of the list that's never ending. It's, here's the list. We're pulling out priorities and other things that are maybe not priorities. Do they need to be on there, or can we hire or send them out to somebody else to do?
Yeah, well, and you talked about like pulling things on your list and then not getting them done and having them carry over. I had a lot of clients that I've worked with. They're like, well, I'm just going to plan everything and then I'll get through as much as I can. And then if I don't get it, I'll just carry it over. And they don't think much about that, but there's a psychological impact, especially if this is your team, where every day they feel like they're not getting everything done. Mm-hmm. And that just weighs on you. So one of the things that I've done with some clients, and they couldn't believe how much of an impact it had, was I said, okay, we want to get 8 things done today, mm-hmm. but what if we just plan 4 things? And then what would happen from there? And they're like, well, then we would only get 4 things done. And I said, well, okay, if you pull all the 8 things done and we can only get 4 things done, isn't it better just to pull 4 things in? And then if we actually get 4 done and we got some extra time, we'll pull the 5th one in. And a lot of people initially are like, well, my team wouldn't do that or whatever else. But here's the thing. If you can plan realistically and then pull more in, I mean, whether it's you or your team.
It's kind of best case scenario.
Yeah, people are going to, like, none of us just want to sit around and do nothing.
Yeah.
But we hate feeling like we never have enough time. So that daily planning is so important because it's like, what's the priority thing that I'm working on today? What are some other things that, I need to get done as well, but they're not as high priority? And then the rest of the stuff for the week, I'm not even going to look at. If I get through my stuff, I'll pull it in. If I don't get everything done, I'll reflect tomorrow. But just planning the right amount of work, mm-hmm. It doesn't cost you anything, but it saves you a lot.
Yep. Yeah, and I think another one is, as you talked about, we all think we have more time than we do, when in actuality, we all have the same amount of time, and a lot of us don't often know how we're using it. So we've talked about this before. We're going to talk about it again. One of the most powerful tools, and also the most simple tools you can use, is to just do a time audit. Keep track of what you're doing and see how much time you actually have, or how much time you're actually spending on the tasks you're currently doing. And then go back and look at your schedule and how you're trying to fit things in and adjust it. Because, you may be thinking that you're spending way too much time doing something, but then you go back and look and you're actually spending way too much time doing something else. And that allows you to kind of shift where you're putting those tasks and what things you're prioritizing.
Yeah, well, I mean, we actually put an action plan together for our lifestyle builders that goes through all of this. So basically the process we take them through is track your time for a week, every half hour. And we've got worksheets and all this stuff with that too. Then the second phase is now go analyze that. How much time was spent in your personal life, how much time was spent at your job if you still have one, mm-hmm. and how much time was spent at your business. So now you get kind of a feel for where your time goes over the course of a week. And then within there, you can then say, okay, am I spending the right amount of time in my personal life? Well, first off, are those kind of the way I want them? Or am I spending too much in one spot or the other? And then within there, like, am I spending the time in my personal life in the way that I want to? Am I maybe, I know we always pick on TV, but am I maybe watching a lot more TV than I'd like to, and I'd rather spend more time with my family? Then once you kind of have that whole analysis done, the final piece is build your new schedule. Say, this is how I want my day or my week to look. And then you can figure out what changes do you have to make that a reality.
Yeah. And I'm gonna shift us a little bit here. So many of us are trying to do what other people do, and we fall into the traps of, well, so-and-so has this productivity tip that they said, and so-and-so over here says I should do this, and so-and-so over here says I should do this. And the problem is...
Well, they're all wrong. You should do this.
No. The problem is they're all different than you, and you are the one who knows yourself best. And what you've got to do is figure out your best working strategy. What does your personality mean when you go and do work? How do you process things? How do you think? Are you more of a creative person that needs some flexibility? Are you more of a very set schedule type person where you want to have every hour of your day planned out? How do you work best? Then you bring in some of the productivity tips or tactics that might help you get more done. Because honestly, there's a lot of stuff out there that works for some people. And when I try to do it, I'm like, this is horrible. It doesn't work at all. I'm so stressed out. But it's because I'm trying to fit myself into someone else's little box because they said, oh, well, this helped me save time. Instead of saying, well, this is how I work, let me go out and find other people who are similar to that and see what they're doing to save more time, to be more productive. So I think we've used this example many, many times. Tom is a strict scheduler type person. He likes to have his calendar and he likes to know which priority tasks he's working on at what times, and he likes to batch, and he likes to have days where he does everything the same on that same day. I am more of a flexible scheduler. I like to give myself a little bit of wiggle room and a little bit of, well, I'm not feeling very creative today, so I'm going to do the priority tasks that don't involve a lot of creativity. And then the next day I might switch it up. So I think it's really important to kind of look at that when you're looking at how you schedule out your days, how you schedule out your weeks, how you pick your tasks, what productivity things that you're trying, because it's going to be a lot more effective for you if you know your own working type, that you go out and find a strategy that works for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the biggest thing is, getting in your zone. There's been times with all of us where we can look back and be like, man, I got so much done today. Or other days where it's like,
I got nothing done.
All right, it's, 5 o'clock or 10 o'clock, and I'm like, where'd my day go? I'd always say look back on those days. I know for me personally, we've talked about how our theme for this year was to put us first. Mm-hmm. And I know that, we got a little bit of a slow start on that, but, just by drinking water in the morning, by getting a good night's sleep, going through my exercise routine in the morning, just kind of getting that routine set, mm-hmm. I'm so much more productive because of that. Now, if I made you get up at the same time I did and try to go through that routine, wouldn't work at all. Nope. You've got your own routine and things you've figured out. So the thing we always tell people is if it's working for you, if you're getting the results, stick with it. If something's not working or you're feeling like it's off, look to make a change and look at all the other stuff that's out there, pull it in and try it. Mm-hmm. And if it works, keep it in, incorporate it into your routine. If it doesn't, let go of it and try something else.
Yeah, and we've talked about some of this stuff in one of our episodes, overcoming the 5 biggest productivity drains. So I just want to mention some of those methods that we touched upon for different ways of getting more done, which is time blocking. Blocking out specific time to do specific tasks, theme days where people do we do an entire day of podcast recording. That's all we do. Then some people will do an entire day of content creation and just brainstorm and create and have that. There's batching tasks, which is doing everything that is the same type of task together. So batching your email, checking and responding, batching your Facebook notifications, checking and responding, batching podcast recording, Pomodoros, which are kind of really, really focused timed sessions where you work and you get a specific task done and then you take a 5-minute break. So you work for 25 minutes, take a 5-minute break. Some people will work 45 minutes, or 40 minutes, 50 minutes, take a 10-minute break, something like that.
Yep.
So those are all just different methods that you can kind of look into if you're looking to change up how you're doing things and see what works.
Well, and I'll tell you, this is an ongoing thing.
Yes.
So don't think that you're ever going to get a routine and always
everything's going to be perfect.
I mean, we're constantly shifting up and trying things. And a lot of it comes back to our weekly or our quarterly meetings. Mm-hmm. We're reflecting back, what things went really well that we want to keep doing, and then where did we struggle, And like for us, for example, Fridays is what we call our catch-all day. And so basically we don't plan anything on Fridays.
Our weekly meeting.
We do our weekly planning, but that's it. And that way, if something comes up, we can do it. If we didn't get everything done that week and we want to be able to do what we can, maybe there's a task that isn't top on the priority list, but it's just something that we would like to do. We can throw it into a Friday.
Like getting squirrels out of your attic.
That was not a task I wanted to do.
No, it's not a task I want to do. Well, I wanted to do it, so they stopped tearing apart our attic, but we didn't really want to have to do that.
But yeah, so I mean, we didn't always have that day. But what we found was that we were kind of running to the end of the week, and then we didn't have any flex.
Yeah, and we're really trying to be very strict about leaving weekends for family time.
Yep.
So we don't want to always just be like, oh, well, if we don't get it done, we'll do it on the weekend, because we don't want that to become a constant, oh, it's okay that we don't get everything done during the week. We'll do it on the weekends, because that's a cycle that's really hard to get out of.
Absolutely.
So we were just like, nope, not going to go there.
Well, and then like, we live in New York, so there's only certain periods of time where we can do this, but we started taking walks every afternoon, like at lunch. And, it's something we're trying out, and it's nice to get out in the fresh air and to just take 15 minutes away. And kind of what I found, I don't know if you found it, when I come back to work, I'm usually more focused.
Yep.
Because just stepping away sometimes and getting your mind off of something gives you a renewed perspective when you come back to it.
Yeah, and I'm excited because we're starting Friday family field trips.
Yes.
This summer, because our daughter will be home from school, and we decided not to send her all summer to day camp. We're going to keep her home and just get some routines with her, but we're also going to start doing some family stuff and keep our son home from daycare on Fridays, and we're going to do something together as a family.
I was going to say, and in true Lifestyle Builders fashion, I mean, we do what we tell you guys, right? I mean, we're changing our schedules. We're putting us first, we're putting our family first, and I'm really excited for this and looking forward to it, because
so much so many that things, you can't say the words.
I know, I'm like, look at me. But I mean, there's all these things we've talked about doing in the past that we delayed or didn't make a priority, and what we're doing now is actually doing that every single week, which is
sweet. We're doing it. All right, coming to that point, we are going to tell you the homework for this week. Some of you might be able to guess this one. My homework for you this week is to do that time audit we mentioned in the episode. Some of you may have done one before. That's okay. We do them all the time when we find that we feel like we're not scheduling like we should, or our time is being spent in areas where we aren't sure it should be. We'll go back and do another time audit. So this is something that, as Tom said, you're probably going to continue to do, and you're going to continue to grow and adjust each time you do it.
And we're actually going to put a link to a template they can use on the show notes page, right?
Yes.
At tomandariana.com/39.
Oh, you remembered the number this time.
So this is kind of funny, because I feel like you're recommending what I usually recommend, and I'm going to recommend what you normally recommend.
We're swapping.
So Ariana's going to have you do the time audit, which is great. What I want you to do is actually do a brain dump. And this is
swapping. This is weird.
But if you've never done this before, if you've never heard Ariana talk about it, this is one of her favorite methods. Like when she's feeling overwhelmed, I go and erase the whiteboard, and I'm just like, get it out. And what she'll do is she'll write down everything we got to do, like what's on her mind for our personal life, what's on her mind for each business. And once it's all on the board, it gets it out of your head, and you just kind of have this sense of relief. It's kind of like restarting your computer after you've had it running for a long time. It's just like fresh. And then we can go through and say, what's the priority and what do we add back in?
Yep.
And I know, like for me, it makes it so much easier not to feel overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So the combination of doing that dump and doing the time audit will really kick you guys like into gear and get your own process set up.
Well, and one tip I'm going to add in there, when I do a brain dump,
You're adding tips?
I am adding tips. I usually do color coding. So obviously in our case, we have 3 different businesses and we have the personal life stuff. So I would take 4 different color markers, and I kind of shift it into writing each specific brain dump thought that I had, wherever it goes, I color coded it. So that way, when I took a step back, I could see like, holy crap, the personal life list is long. And then over here, one of the businesses is long and the other two are a little shorter. So that kind of helped me after going through the entire brain dump to, one, see where more of my mind is spending time thinking about all these things.
Yep.
And two, when you go to pick out the priorities, we tend to pick priorities from each of the categories. So like if you've got a job, if you've got your business, if you've got your family life, you can categorize those things in different areas. Maybe you want to do one for yourself as opposed to your family. Whatever you want to do to break things up, it really does help to kind of categorize them and look at those things from the bigger picture view.
Yep. Love it.
All right. What's your book this week?
All right, my book, and I got to warn you, Ariana ragged on me.
Old school.
She ragged on me when I pulled this book out. Because what was the date on it?
1993.
1993. So this is called Productivity Power, 250 Great Ideas for Being More Productive. And normally I wouldn't recommend a book like this. Because
we just talked about not trying all of the tactics.
It's got all the tactics. The reason I'm recommending it, though, is because it has all the tactics and it has strategies. And what it does, like if you guys go and check this out, I don't even know if you can find this on Amazon. It might be like discontinued. You got to buy the used one.
Way to recommend the book.
But what it has is each of these are like 1 to 2 pages, and there's 250 of them, so they're not that long. But what they do is they're organized in a good way. And then, like, for example, number 21, set goals only for the areas of your life where you feel a sense of commitment. So some of it's just a way to think about things to say, well, that makes sense, because if I'm setting goals in an area where I'm not feeling a sense of commitment, I'm probably not going to do it.
Yep.
So, like, I've gone back to this book a couple times over the years just when I'm kind of feeling stuck for some inspiration. And it's funny, even though, like, I'm into the productivity stuff, there's always new things, or maybe I'm at a different point in life or facing a different problem, and I'll flip through that and I'll be like, oh, this is something I've known about, but this would actually be perfect right now.
I like it. Even though it's old school, I like it. For those of you that are listening, we did kind of talk about getting that big picture view, and we didn't really go deep into that on this episode. So if you haven't yet signed up for our free Plan with Purpose video course, go ahead and hop onto the show notes page. You can find that there, and that'll kind of give you our 30,000 foot view of how you can kind of go through each of these steps to figure out your vision, what your big picture is, breaking things down. It kind of gives you the foundational steps to being able to set those goals and break them up so that you do know what you're working on at a weekly and daily basis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good course.
All right, you guys, it's been another great episode with Tom and Ariana, your hosts and lifestyle builders.
And as always, we want you guys to remember that it's your life, your business, your way. We'll see you next time.
Bye. Are you frustrated by a lack of momentum in your business? Do you want real-time guidance and support from seasoned entrepreneurs who really care about your results? If you're nodding your head or awkwardly shouting yes in public somewhere, then we invite you to join Lifestyle Builders, a mentorship program designed to meet you where you are and give you strategic and custom guidance so you can build the business you need for the life you crave. You can find out more at joinlifestylebuilders.com.
Your life, your business, your way. Join Family Entrepreneur Life. Join Family Entrepreneur Life.